Heidi howdy hody, this is JL for another weekly Shonen Nonsense for September 17th, 2023. The comics are coming in 3, 2, One Piece, chapter 1092. Alright, we start this chapter off with a bit of a detour to Kuma, who is apparently raising hell in Marijoa, and of all things, Sakazuki comes in to fight Kuma. Sakazuki doing something in the post-time skip arc. Wow, that's insane. But of course, as he fights, we see Kuma just kind of run away, hop away as fast as he always can. So it's a little implied that, yeah, Sakazuki's still not going to be able to do anything, especially considering he's being berated by the Tenryubito, probably the Celestial Dragons, as the Westerners call them. So it's just fascinating to see, like, Kuma essentially running toward, I think, Egghead. It's sort of implied because he's just not caring to stay here. He really wants to get to his daughter, which apparently we get a little bit of a history with this entire chapter. We kind of start with Sakazuki remembering him telling Bonnie off when he captured her that one time, the scene we cut away from really quickly. But of course, this all goes back to Egghead, where we see Kizaru proving that he's probably the scariest admiral because he just destroys everything. Of course, he fights Luffy, who's in Snake Man form, Gear 4, surprisingly enough, not going for the fast kill, but I guess sizing up Kizaru with his powers. But of course, Kizaru doesn't care and just obliterates V-Force 1 with Luffy and knocking him out of the Labosphere. And of course, of all things, Bonnie tries to take on the Admiral, who recognizes her. Kizaru's like, yeah, I remember you. Well, too bad. Kicks her and hits her toward the force field and causes an explosion. So Bonnie's clearly not dead. Yeah, this is One Piece. Yeah, there was an explosion. Yeah, that would kill most people. This is One Piece. I don't trust it. They're probably still alive somewhere. Don't worry. And then, of course, Kizaru then immediately enters the base just as they figure out how to get past the force field. And just before he gets to Vegapunk, just before he's able to, like, shoot just that one good laser shot, Luffy comes back in Gear 5, proving that he went through the force field and back as Gear 5 Luffy. So more Nika form means more chaos, and I love it. Finally capturing the Light Man. And just at the very end, we see the old robot waking up as the tune of the Drums of Liberation come rippling towards it. This is interesting. So maybe it's through the power of liberation does the robot finally transform and come to life. Fascinating stuff. But regardless, there's no break next week. We're going to see Gear 5 Luffy tear into the Light Man. I am really looking forward to this. Love One Piece. New series, Kagurabachi, Chapter 1. And that's, my boys, how katanas are made. Alright, so this is actually a fascinating first chapter to the series. Don't really have much to say about the story. It is a bit interesting, as it's not really telling a lot of exposition so far. Like, we have to infer a lot of information based off of just the context clues the series has given us. Such as, there is clearly sorcery in this world, there's swords, of course, but there's magic and a different type of system. This is not Japan, this is something like Japan, but not really, as we do have Yakuza, but, all these places and things seem sort of out of place in general. And of course we have unique characters of this Chihiro character and his father, Kunishige, pardon me. And they have this little beginning part where they show their life together, him learning how to be a blacksmith with his dad, learning how to make swords and learn sword ethics. We get their friend Shiro coming in and talking about the Seitei War, whatever that is. And then, of course, we get a jump partway through of 38 months? That's a weird number. But essentially 3 years and 2 months, where Chihiro goes from 15 to 18 plus. Dirty. And then they, of course, raid a Yakuza base, killing the entire place, and look for a member of a sorcerer's guild called Hishaku, or Sorcerer's Society or something. But either way, we kind of get motivation, killing sorcerers for some reason. Clearly, it might be related to the scar and the fact that the dad hasn't shown post-time skip, so maybe his dad is dead, or hurt, or something, or maybe turned evil. We don't know. The series isn't really wanting to tell us at the moment, but that's intriguing. It leads to the next chapter. We want to see where this goes. Gotta say, though, it's very Shonen Jump coded. The illusions this series has are fun, but can lead to a bit of seen that, done that kind of thing. Such as the fact that it's a katana story. It's about a kid wielding a really cool katana, and it's a magic katana that uses water and summons, giant fish that represent certain slashes that he can do that can cut through and cleave through his enemies. Which the goldfish are mentioned earlier in the chapter, which is really cool. Like you see his dad talking to fish after he bought them and put them in a tank. And now the kid has to take care of them. And now we see as he's grown up, these fish now represent his magical power. The issue is this seems a little bit Ketsu no Yaiba, a little bit Demon Slayer in that regard, especially considering it's a kid with a scar on his face that's somehow representing his youth where his family was hurt and or broken up due to something that caused that scar in the first place. And now he uses a magical sword to defeat some other humanoid group. Now, granted, they're not Oni, nor are they supernatural in the most direct sense. These are sorcerers. And kind of Chinese coded, to be honest, as that Q is kind of obvious, as well as the hat. But what's also kind of telling is, you have the father figure being eccentric weirdo with a shirt that says Odin on it. Now, granted, Odin is a common food, common thing you can find in Japan, but at the same time, it seems a bit obvious that the father figure for a young, up-and-coming warrior to have a dad named Odin, or related to Odin, you know what I mean? But either way, I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes. Tepidly, of course. The series doesn't have too much going for it so far. Good, clean line work, gore, action. But we've seen that before with Chainsaw Man. And Chainsaw Man did jump off the magazine partway through its run. So if it does well, it may not last here anyway, and may go off to be just a Jump Plus series, rather than sticking around and being maintained in the magazine. Otherwise, though, not bad for an opening chapter. Quite interesting, especially with the mid-break time skip. And essentially an older character. He's not a typical teenager like a lot of the other Shonen Jump protagonists. So, again, fascinating little work. Mama Yu Yu, Chapter 2. The brilliant second chapter to Mama Yu Yu comes out here. So, we start the story 3 days after the last chapter, where Corelio died and came back, revealing that Mama wants to reveal a couple things to Corelio at a specific place later. Not now, but later. Why they don't go together, don't ask me. That does lead to Corelio kind of wandering around town, wondering if he is truly the hero he believes he's supposed to be. But as he's lamenting this, he runs into the demon kid from last chapter who he saved, who then thanks him for saving him. So it's nice, kind of bolstering him up a bit. Right before he goes to the graveyard. Apparently Mama wanted to reveal that, one, that she is a relation, or at least knows about, or was, a person who talked to Hollow Hollow, which makes sense. She's 38. She would, of course, know the previous hero in some way, shape, or form. But, of course, this means that she's fearing that Corelio is going to become like Hollow Hollow and sacrifice himself and die at a young age. So she's like, don't do that. But as he's walking away from her, it all of a sudden turns pitch black, and we reveal that there is a monster after them. Which apparently Evan, the isekai protagonist, who decided to give up his life, said, "Yeah, so I sort of am attracting monsters, so good luck with that." And yeah, now Corleo must protect things, but Mamama, being the mother figure, decides to tell Corleo to run. This ends poorly, as Corleo starts to run away in his panic attack, but then he sees Mamama getting disarmed. Literally. He then turns back and faces down the monster with one swift punch. Leading to the end of the chapter where the monster gets what he wants, which is apparently getting to the hero. This is good. Like, the art here is amazing. The way things are structured is insane. This paneling is nuts. Everything is paneled perfectly. Like, the way panels are shaped, how things move. Like, there is this one little instance where the monster is about to be revealed, and, like, we see the characters in one page being normal, like, standing straight, but then it feels like a Dutch angle is being implemented, and then the entire panels start to spin, where characters are just kind of in different positions, sort of spinning around and around, and the characters point this out until the reveal of the monster, underneath the eclipsing moon. It's very, very well done and truly terrifying. That monster is scary. And then we have the panels of, Corleo punching the monster, which are just done insanely well. And I do worry because the guy who's creating this, Hayashi, he is going buck wild with paneling, the art. Everything looks insane. But that scares me a bit, because good art does not a Shonen Jump series make. It's weird, but successful series kind of balance decent art with compelling stories. Things that can get the reader to come back each week, not just things that look good and act good. Like, you want to see where Luffy goes with his narrative. You want to follow Naruto and his rise into greatness. You want to make sure that Ichigo actually, fights for his friends. So, and not all the stories have the most brimming art every single moment, but they do tell the story well and compellingly. This is starting out really strong, and it's reminding me a lot of Horikoshi's beginnings with Barrage and My Hero Academia, which is scary, because Horikoshi right now is suffering a lot from what he's doing now because of what he was doing back then, because Horikoshi went insanely wild with the art, to the point where he was doing things like giant every single chapter that would like break a man's hand looking at what he's having to do. And Hayashi here is looking like he's doing the same, and that's a little scary because other series that have come up here, like Red Hood, the Hunting Guild story that had great art, fell off after about 20-something chapters. So again, I'm looking to see the series progress and stay relevant. I don't want to see this end early because of the artist burnout or the lack of a creative story. Icehead Gill, Chapter 12. And so continues the fight between trolls and liches. We see some captured trolls being harassed by our evil villain for this arc, Gamagin, using his weapon, his relic, the Glepnir, which is this really cool fiery whip, which not only damages people, but it can also invigorate his allies, making them stronger liches, which is fascinating. But of course, we see their motivation is to destroy the heart tree, which would link all forests in the world, and if it's destroyed, it causes mass damage across the world. So this is kind of big, like world-shaking stuff here, as well as he wants to kill the Book of Wisdom, which would cut off the history of the liches and their defeat. So possible weaknesses. We then cut back to our heroes, which their group splits a bit. Sana goes off to getting a good sniping position. Greatest and Sliz go off to attack the liches directly, taking them on in a fight, while Gil goes off with the troll children to meet Idun, the matriarch of the troll society. This then leads to Gil going, oh, I recognize her. And we, of course, see Ida in this chapter, who apparently smokes her own hair. Like, just snaps one of the twigs off her head, lights it up, and blazes while, defending her kids. Of course, Gil comes in for the rescue, and gives her a big old hug. And she berates him, of course, starting to give him shit, but then starts to break down right before Agamemnon comes in to attack her, because she is actually the Book of Wisdom of all things. Makes sense. She remembers a lot of things. He's going to clearly try to kill her. So, hey, we got a cool granny character, which is very rare nowadays for Shonen Jump. There really aren't that many. Like, you can count a few off the top of your head. Genkai from Yu Yu Hakusho and Kureha from One Piece. So it's good to see, she a female old lady coming back as a protagonist, or at least an ally to the protagonist, as well as just a female character in the series that's given time to be a female character or a matriarch for some reason. But still, it's better. It's been kind of a male-centric story so far, but looking forward to the next chapter, seeing Gil take down, or at least try to take on, Gamajin before Greatest comes in and probably does the actual work. Martial Master Asumi, Chapter 13. And the Dropout Tournament starts. So we get our big old fight card with a bunch of names, which I'm not going to memorize right now, because I don't think I'm going to need to. As we jump into this tournament, the rest of the team kind of just watches on. Like, we see Kazla at the beginning. We see Now also in the beginning of the chapter kind of lamenting that she is not in the actual arena. She wants to be there, but her dad's like, don't go there while I'm here at least. People are bad there, he says. But she's also kind of wary because she doesn't know how Nito's actually going to take on his fights. And then we begin with the first fight with this guy called Meruto. It's Melt. His name is Melt. We can just call him Melt. It's not that hard. Guys, we don't have to Ramaji this. His name is Melt. Either way, Melt is posturing, going, yeah, I could kick this kid's ass. He's shorter than me, whatever. Just because we saw this video. And Nito says he's nervous, or he says he's not nervous, but he thinks he's nervous. But just as the bell rings, Nito flies towards Melt, like dashing straight in, getting as close as possible before feinting a tackle, jumping up and kneeing this dude in the face, knocking him out instantly. 6 seconds into a KO. Damn, that's cool. Holy shit. So yeah, this is insane. I'm on Kazlo with this. That was hype as all fuck. Cause like way to start a tournament bout, man. Just immediately going and knocking the motherfucker out instantaneously. Of course, we see Yoshi kind of being a little hesitant with Nito. We see Nito's grandfather going, yeah, that's right. That's why I named you rabbits. Because apparently Nito means 2 rabbits, which is Nito. Nue's Exorcist, Chapter 18. Color cover, which is good. That means we're getting another volume of this. So this actual chapter starts with Suo, of all things, doing a report on the beach activities, which then leads to meeting this Moro person, a instructor / master that of the various schools, who seems to be a humble sort, wants to talk about the school, doesn't seem very important at the beginning of the chapter. We then cut to Shiraha waking up after falling asleep, still holding on to Gakuro's hands in bed. Lewd. Either way, she walks out, runs into Nue. Nue's like, let's go take a bath together. So we get a bath scene. Classic harem stuff. Which reveals that Nue was basically stopping Shiraha from leaving because Shiraha was probably trying to escape. However, this also leads to Shiraha going, yeah, leaving wouldn't be a good idea either. Saying like if she stays, she attracts attention, causes problems for Gakuro and friends. If she leaves, there's no chance for her to actually deal with the problems because she'll be killed or captured, and Gakuro and Nue will be in danger. So literally she's stuck between a rock and a hard place. Nue's like, everything's going according to plan, and reassures her that she's wanted here. Like, she likes Shiraha. She likes Shiraha and Gakuro getting together and being happy. She likes Suo. She likes playing games together. So, like, Nue is wanting to protect the new friends and family she has. So we get, like, a good, loving moment together with everybody, like, making a meal together and eating, and then the barrier that's protecting them breaks down, and Moro walks in. Right there, beginning the next big arc of fighting this big old assassin who we just met earlier in the chapter. So, interesting stuff going down. Looking forward to seeing how this plays out. Will we get more Haremites? Will we get more action? All fantastic ideas that we're going to see for this next at least 10-ish chapters if volume sales continue. Hopefully getting up maybe more chapters. I don't know. Be nice. My Girlfriend Gives Me Goosebumps, Chapter 18.5, Extra Edition. Not much to say this chapter. This is actually just an extra. My Girlfriend Gives Me Goosebumps has gone bi-weekly, where their off weeks are going to be extra chapters. I'll still cover it. It's not a whole lot, but most of the main chapters are going to be covered in the rush day, so for the foreseeable future at least. So, whatever. We get a little prank here of Kisaki showing a scar off, scaring her classmates with makeup, and Watarai being weird, or Watarai being Watarai in the boyfriend's case. So, not a lot. Pretty quick. Possibly leading to the next chapter. I don't know. But again, looking forward to it. Still going to cover it, just not as heavily because of it's on an off. I'm doing this on an off week for it, so still good. Do Retry, Chapter 19. Alright, here's the final chapter. Alright, so the series is not over yet. We get a full time skip all the way to present day, 2023, where we meet Taiga, the grandchild of our main protagonist, who apparently lives in Tokyo doing a shitty job, or working a shitty job, really, doing a shitty job at a shitty job, and his, okay apartment, where he's apparently a novice cobbler, but he then gets a call from his dear old mother. Apparently, Aozura, our hero, has died of old age. Well, more like he had heart complications. The irony. Anyway, we run into his sister, who's also still alive, or now is still alive. Now she's an elderly great aunt who still holds on to the pendant he gave her. And this then leads to Taiga sort of lamenting that he couldn't live up to his dreams, which then leads into the actual funeral, where we see a video of the rest of Aozura's life, which we didn't get to see because the series canceled, and shows him still fighting on, still being a boxer, even though he fails ultimately at the end to achieve his full dream of making his company where his family can thrive for the rest of time. He still fights on because he still had that strong heart in him, and this makes Taiga then, rush out the room, go back to work, quit his job hard, and go to make shoes, ending the series on a pretty, content note of still fight on because fighting is worth it. It's a good little series. I do appreciate it. I feel bad. This is the second series that ended before the 20 chapter mark for this artist. He does a good job. While Bone Collection was a little ugly at the time because it really didn't know what to do because it was doing fantasy violence and it really didn't know how to. This had a little bit more structure because it was boxing, and it still looked good. I really loved the beats, and while this ended on a really good note, it ends with time moving forward and the unclear future being something worth fighting for. Still a good message there in the end. So I'm sad to see it go. I really wish this artist would get a real break and get that series that he can do, or at least get a job where he can be an illustrator or be a helper for somebody else who can really push forward. Because again, this guy is good. It's just unfortunate he keeps failing to survive in Shonen Jump here. Kill Blue, Chapter 21. God damn. So, like, Ogami's been hypnotized, right? This hypnotist is like, you can't shoot me. So Ogami's like, all right, fires 3 times in the air. Going like, I can shoot in other directions. He then shoots the fire engine behind him, the fire tank, causing a small explosion of water, which distracts the hypnotist long enough for Ogami to go into hiding. But just as he's going into hiding, the hypnotist then brings out a hostage, saying like, I'll have this hostage kill himself unless you come out of hiding. So Ogami does, and throws his gun towards the hypnotist. The hypnotist is like, yeah, haha, I've gotten you in a corner. Any last requests? And he's like, yeah. Ogami says, take your mask off. So the hypnotist brother takes his mask off, and he's like, thank you. Now I can see you as I beat your ass. Revealing that he has made this elaborate trap. So while he was in hiding, kind of scurrying around this entire place, the shots he fired in the air weren't just to prove that he could shoot in the air, because he knew they are going to land. And they landed on a gurney, which then rolls over a bomb switch that he planted, because the bomb he planted on the tire behind the hypnotist then goes off, launching the hypnotist into Ogami's fist. Just, what the fuck, man? That is so goddamn cool. So then, of course, the hypnotist laid out, like, scared as hell about what just happened, reveals to Ogami that Norin has been hypnotized, that if she will fall in love with the next person she sees. So Ogami's like, oh god, that might be Tenma, and I do not need this love triangle to go even further south. So he runs off to go see Ogami. So next chapter, we're going to get the other brother, the mute brother, and his golf versus Tenma, and Norin waking up. This is so goddamn cool. Like, we have seen Ogami use 2 explosions to combo into something, which is just insane. Love it. Like, 5 stars. So good. Cypher Academy, Chapter 40. Alright, just gonna go through a quick recap. This chapter really didn't have much. We have this N girl being sort of drafted, though she's not sure why she's being drafted. She's unsure of herself because she didn't get picked for a glasses weapon, but then Top Hat Girl comes in, gives her a negative positive boost to morale by, like, calling out Iroha for being an idiot, but, she's like, no, Iroha's not an idiot, failing the Bechdel test in glorious fashion, revealing near the middle of the chapter that she's, gotten a new resolve by cutting all of her long hairs, and now she has short hair, and she's determined now. So that's character development. And then, of course, we get more of Iroha getting more information about 2 possible situations. He can either meet up with somebody and get information about his savior from middle school, or he can get information about the weird breakdancing POW who he saw in that video once. So now the next chapter is going to be his decision, what he's going to do about this. So I'm just kind of rushing through this because really not much to say about this, but I did figure out why I don't like this series. Because, if you've been following this, I don't like Cypher Academy. I think it's terrible. And it still is. But the reason why I found it terrible is because I didn't recognize something. So, a little deep dive into me. I've been kind of into this stuff for a while, if it wasn't obvious. So, back in my college days, centuries ago, I was watching in my anime club. They voted on this under the premise that was like Mushishi, a series called Bakemonogatari. And I watched this, and it was hot garbage. Written by the same guy. And now everything's falling into place for me. I understand why not only the series is popular, but why this irks me so much. Because Bakemonogatari is garbage. It is hot garbage. It is, like, the worst thing. Because I remember vividly seeing the 3rd episode, which involved our main protagonist having a conversation with the girl he likes about his penis for about 24 minutes. It was just a long conversation about his dick. And I wasn't there for it. It was terrible. It was boring. It was just trite. Like, it just tries to say something, but what it says is not worthwhile. This writer sucks. just utterly sucks, and explains why he's so popular. Because everyone I hear on the internet loves the Monogatari series. Loves it. It's so cool. It's so good. I've seen the original series, and I understand why it got canceled partway through its run, right before the ending. Because it is not good. It is trite. It is vapid. And it tries to think itself more important than it actually is. And it really tells me about this series a lot. Like, why is Iraha a guy? Like, there was no real reason why he's a male. Like, the series started with the idea that women do cipher work. It sort of leads into that. And his protagonist is very feminine coded. But we reveal he's a guy, and it's like, well, are they going to do something, uniquely non-gender? Maybe he's gender neutral. No. It's because he's a guy in a room full of girls that all might want his dick someday. And now he's the leader of all these women in a field led by women. Motherfucker. Like, I will still hate read this. I will still read this out of pure spite. But God knows, I know why this series keeps going on. Because these stans keep buying this shitty book to keep fueling this dude's shitty work with him not understanding what he really should be doing is not writing at all. This is garbage. And it continues to be garbage. Because the author doesn't know how to churn anything out but garbage. The Ichinose Family's Deadly Sins, Chapter 41. This roller coaster seems fun. We get into the ride with Tsubasa and Soda as they kind of try to get their way back home, drinking some sweet tea, discussing, their fears, like Soda fearing, getting back to the house and going back to his former life, while Tsubasa's like, hey, you can't keep running away from it. And as we kind of build up the coaster, we're getting back to the house. We knock on the door, and at the peak, we see someone coming out the door, but it's not Mom. It's somebody else. We ask, is the Ichinose family living here? And she says, there's never been an Ichinose family here. And then it drops. Everything goes black. We start falling down, creaking closer to the edge as we open up our eyes. And we're in the hospital again. There's Mom, there's Sister, there's Soda, the brother. There's Grandma, Grandpa surrounding us saying they don't have their memories. We're back in the dream. The drop happens. We see all of them passed out except for Dad. And now it begins again. We're back on the roller coaster, folks. Oh my God, we're back in the dream. This is insanity. I love this series. I love this fascinatingly twisted family. And now we're back in the supernatural or fantastic sci-fi part of things. And I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes. This is, we're at chapter 41. I'm thinking this might be the last arc, especially with kind of the reveal that Dad caused this to happen. Or at least the implication that Dad caused this to happen. So, not sure where this goes. I really hope it gets crazier and crazier because I love this roller coaster, man. Akana Banashi, chapter 78. A decent chapter starring Karashi of all things, honestly, where apparently he's leading the presentation of the Sanmeite, the school he's in. And we sort of meet one of his childhood friends, Minase, who's always been second place to Karashi, never outdoing him, always just one step below him. And we see that Karashi's just good at everything he does, and he's jumped wholeheartedly into Rakugo, seemingly at a whim, but during the presentation he shows off Kodan style speech reading, which just impresses everybody. Even though it's half-baked, it still impresses everyone around him. Clearly he's supposed to be who he is. And we reveal with Minase as the perspective character that Karashi didn't start Rakugo on a whim like she thought. He started it because he was inspired by people like Akane, because she was just so good at it in comparison to him, who could barely even function with it, much like she could. So he pursued Rakugo with Enso in mind. Speaking of which, Enso then comes in the end of the chapter, berating him a bit for using Kodan without really trying. But then, at the very end, we see Karashi's phone blowing up, people all trying to capture his attention, which should lead into the next chapter, maybe more about Karashi or something else about something big in the world of Rakugo. Something huge might have happened, and I'm looking forward to seeing where that goes. So, again, not a really big chapter, but a decent one. Good world building. Still great. Blue Box, Chapter 117. Blowout. So we get the actual match between Mochizuki and Taiki, which is just like a wash. Mochizuki would be good if he wasn't so dead inside. Clearly, he's always thought he was lesser than Yusa, and because of which he's kind of just coasting at this point, and Taiki took advantage of that hard and just eliminates him in the semifinals, which then leads to Taiki winning the entire thing. We jump over to Yusa, who's, clearly jelly. Like, he's off in a foreign country. He's abroad playing badminton. He's like grumbling to himself, I could have beat him. I could have beat Taiki. But, of course, he can't because he's not here. Loser. And, of course, the chapter then ends with Chinatsu, going, hey, congratulations, you won. I was really so happy. So everybody thought it was weird when I was smiling at my phone earlier. And Taiki then pulls out the works going, I couldn't have done it without your support, Chinatsu. Period. Dropping the senpai, which then Chinatsu gets all kinds of red-faced. Clearly a victory for good old Taiki, which he then goes, please keep using the senpai. It's a little bit too much for me still. Funny, great, cute. Blue Box has earned its survival and then some. Again, wonderful series. Looking forward to seeing if he does get to nationals, what's that going to look like, what the future holds, especially for characters like Kyo, who clearly didn't win, and I'm certain we're going to get more about him in later chapters here, hopefully. Witch Watch, Chapter 125. On to the Moi versus Ron fight. But we get a bit of early stuff here first to cover things, specifically the Twilight Rose plan. So apparently a Twilight Rose acts just like a vampire and can suck out vitality. Meaning, if they can stick Ron with the Twilight Rose, they can suck up his vitality, making him weak, and they can go in for the killing blow. But they need to get up there, because, they're at the summit while, they're still a different part of the mountain entirely. Then comes Momochi. Good old Momochi, right in time for a lap pillow. I mean, right in time to teleport them, but she can't see it from there, so she sends up Chike, the parakeet, to go and scout out the area so she can teleport there. We then jump into the fight with Morihito, where he reveals all of the techniques he's learned from the Ogre Masters, like muscle release and flash step and bright eyes, and whoops, that last move failed, because apparently Morihito's still not strong enough to really break those vital points, but he still lays into him. Ron taken aback because he's getting hit in all of his vital points, but it reveals that Morihito learned these techniques from Ron's dad, revealing some hidden memories in Ron that apparently his dad did actually like him, at least a little, to make sure he didn't get hurt. So while Ron is sort of in this existential crisis and getting beaten down, Morihito sees Chika and goes, oh, crap. So he starts backing up in order to make some distance so that Miharu can teleport in with Momochi to shoot the Twilight at Ron. We're setting up the shot, meaning that it's going to miss, but it's still going to be fun and fascinating to see how Moi is able to finally take down Ron. Good stuff. I really can't say much more than that. Sakamoto Days, Chapter 135. So we begin this chapter with a bit more about Kamihate, with a little backstory with him and the Order, revealing that he is the top sniper for a reason, being able to, shoot people from 4 kilometers to 8 kilometers away with, just precise headshots, to doing things like apparently shooting a knife to cause it to go airborne, and then shooting the knife again to make it fire and ricochet into somebody's head who's behind cover. Just ridiculous nonsense that leads to then the current day where we reveal his actual weakness, which is pretty women. Specifically weather women, because apparently being a meteorologist is hot to a good sniper. The team tries to run away, Sakamoto using the Weather Woman as cover. Unfortunately, they have to be reminded that cars are also susceptible to bullets, as the car is getting shot at and other cars being shot around them. Kamihate really not caring about civilian lives. This then leads to apparently using a pole to make a hard right turn, but that also leaves Sakamoto's arm exposed, and it gets shot. The car gets totaled. Sakamoto's in the crosshairs of Kamihate when suddenly Kamihate gets shot by Heisuke. Heisuke returns and decides, hey, you guys go on ahead, I'll take on the sniper, leading to a sniper-on-sniper duel next chapter. Hell yeah! So this is intense. This is getting hairy, and we're gonna get a fun little duel between the two. Maybe we'll actually get to see who Kamihate looks like. And then, of course, if we can only get the end to come into this fight and blow himself up, we'll get the perfect sniper duel. And where you're going to get things cooler than headshots? Only at Sakamoto Days. Ayakashi Triangle, Chapter 143. Alright, so we get the aftermath of the Go-Gyosen fight with Matsuri, doing laundry, and her grandfather walking up going, man, being a girl has really mellowed you out. And she's like, yeah, it's been good. But then grandfather reminds her, yeah, so you're going to be a boy now, right? So apparently, after this whole battle, because Shirogane got his powers back, that means the curse can be lifted. They've already buried the hatchet with Shirogane. They revealed the leaders of their group have been sort of bad Ayakashi the entire time, so that upends the entire Exorcist Ninja thing. So there's no reason why he can't become a guy again. This then leads to Suzu and Matsuri celebrating their victory with the rest of the Ayakashi, even though, they're celebrating her, even though Shirogane's back being the king. But, bygones, she is a god, literally, so, what's more powerful than a god? A kami. But this then leads to the question of why Suzu's not using her light halo anymore. It's really, apparently, she's repressing it. Shadow May revealing that she left her power behind in Suzu's body. Now she's just a depowered Ayakashi, and she's just going, I'll just live the rest of my life out with, I don't know, other Ayakashi. Leans to Garaku. Garaku going, oh, you want to be a painter? Apparently missing the memo that he's in love with her or something. I don't know. But then we get the final bit. We get back to the old temple where Shirogane is like, I'm about to go back to the forest to live out the rest of my life, being the Ayakashi king. But before I leave, I'm going to turn Matsuri back into a guy. And then Matsuri stops him, says, I'm not going back, ending the chapter. So this actually might be the end. We're actually getting very close to the end of the series, I think. Unless there's going to be some other wrap-up. I mean, to be honest, all the other stories are wrapped up. We've basically got every character on a upward trajectory. Characters are achieving things in life. We could just get like a big final roundup for the next chapter, and then the series is over. I don't really see a problem with it. It's been a fun ride. Sure, it's been pervy at times and a little bit over the top, but again, art's great. Storytelling is pretty decent. The shameless excuse for some fights are still fun. But again, when it gets action-packed, it gets action-packed in amazing ways. So to see this end on a bit of a high note, hey, I'm for it. People are complaining about a lesbian ending. I say, hey, let's get more lesbian endings. Undead Unluck, Chapter 175. Color cover, because we're not stopping this train. So we get back into the story with Rip ignoring Lotla and Fuko's request to stop sick, because he's too busy trying to save his girlfriend. And of course he does, because he is the two-fisted surgeon. Wait. Either way, when, of course, he saves his girlfriend goes, you're not just my hero or boyfriend, you're the world's hero. Which then gets him to go off and save the rest of the hospital. And he saves the rest of the hospital, using his surgery skills that just are ridiculous to save everybody, man, woman, and child, especially, from dying to 6 influence. We then actually see 6 kids. They're the Yuma's like weird extraction blobs that go out there and cause people to get sick, taking in nutrients and bringing it back to mama. And unfortunately, while they can be cut, they simply divide into more sick kids. And the sick creatures then can scurry off without a hint or without a hitch. Which then leads to the realization that we do really need unrepair, because we can cut them, but only unrepair can make it so that they can't divide, they just die. And we then jump to Rip himself, lamenting. He's saved everybody in the hospital, but Fuko's coming over and telling him, yeah, you can't keep doing this, because Sick is just going to get more relentless as time goes forward. And then tells him, you have to take this down being unrepaired. That will mean you stop being a doctor. And he just interrupts her and goes, this is going to save them, right? Because in this universe, good Rip is good. Rip is a good character now. Which is just fascinating to see a once antagonist, once just scary, disturbing, and frightening antagonist turned into the hero he's supposed to be. And in this universe, he's able to flourish as that. His girlfriend's still alive, she's still savable, but he's now in a position where he can become unrepaired without being in the surgery room with her and possibly cause her to die faster. It's a great series. It really deserves its color cover. It deserves more volumes. I want to see this series go to 200 at this point, probably even beyond that, because it has survived this long. It deserves every bit of praise it gets. My Hero Academia Chapter 400! It's great that Horikoshi got to 400 chapters of his main book, and he starts it out with a naked teenager. I guess Ayakashi Triangle's not really going away, is it? Anyway, so, of course, Hagakure is apparently visible to Aoyama somehow. Apparently, Aoyama's laser beam apparently makes her visible, which is really insane. That's one hell of a naval laser. But either way, the rest of the heroes in the area are still being sucked away by the plants, so Aoyama decides to use his naval laser one last time as a UA student to save the rest of these guys. We then cut back to All for One versus All Might. All Might basically avoiding the holistic laser by using the rest of the little power set, trying to hold All for One in place as much as possible, even though he's being held down by the laser. He's still able to do and affect the world around him because he's All for One. We get a small cutaway to Foreigner watching in on the live stream, just kind of building up the finale here. As the laser finally fails, All for One, now in baby form, it goes on the attack, is about to launch one giant, probably beam or something at All Might, when suddenly he stops, and we hear from the skies, all bleed red, and we see Stain licking some of All for One's blood off of a piece of rock, which is insane. We're building up to the finale of this one fight, which brings together not only the symbol, the pacifistic symbol of peace, and a homicidal hero killer to defeat All for One, the immortal demon king. Great stuff. Wonderful finale to this fight, and that leads on to the next one, which is going to be the final fight of the entire series. So, or maybe not. Don't know how this is going to end, but this fight card is being set up amazingly. And that's going to do it for this week. So, plenty of comics this week. A lot of things going towards conclusions here. Getting Do Retry ending now, and possibly Ayakashi Triangle ending next week. So, looking forward to the new series kind of coming out. Have some hopes, but at the same time, it's not always perfect. Not everything can survive. But again, there's also always One Piece, for now at least. So, anyway, like, favorite, comment, subscribe. Hope you remember when September ends, because I'm not going to. Bye!